shadow mechanism, theory, and application. Let's dive into how this framework can revolutionize your approach.
Okay, so let's just get right into it. If you're in a large organization, you have definitely seen this happen. These really promising AI projects that just stall out. They get stuck in this endless loop of pilot programs, or they just kind of fail. And usually, we point the finger at the technology. But what if the real reason for failure has absolutely nothing to do with the code and everything to do with what we're afraid to admit? And that brings us to the core idea of this whole explainer. The most persistent failures in artificial intelligence adoption do not originate in code, models, or infrastructure. They are the result of denial. Just let that sink in for a second. The problem isn't the AI. The problem is us. To really understand this denial, we have to talk about this fundamental mismatch. The source material calls it the Red Queen's race. Now, this right here captures a huge paradox. You see, AI technology moves at a blistering, almost unbelievable pace. But our institutions, well, they're built for stability. They move in quarters, in fiscal years. So by the time some big, formal AI program finally gets rolled out, the tech it was built on is already old news. The whole organization is running as fast as it possibly can, just to stay in the exact same place. It gets trapped in the cycle of pilots that looks like progress, but it's really just strategic paralysis. So if the tech isn't the real villain here, what is? Well, the source offers a really powerful diagnosis, a concept it calls the shadow mechanism. And this is just a brilliant way to put it. The shadow mechanism is this pattern that keeps repeating. An institution creates some incredible new power with AI, but it's just not psychologically or structurally ready to actually govern it. It's kind of like the shadow in Jungian psychology. The shadow isn't some evil thing. It's just the potential that we deny, the stuff we push down. But when you do that, it doesn't just go away, oh no. It comes back, and it usually causes a ton of disruption. And you can see this process unfold in a pretty predictable way. First, some new AI capability pops up, but the organization completely denies what it really means for power, for authority, for who's in charge. So this unacknowledged power becomes the shadow, and then eventually it comes roaring back as uncontrolled disruption. You see employees using unapproved tools, you see major decisions being made on data that no one will formally stand behind, and sooner or later there's a crisis that just forces the whole issue out into the open. But why does this denial even happen? It's not just people being stubborn. The source argues that this resistance is actually a set of totally predictable psychological defense mechanisms. And I bet some of these are going to sound pretty familiar. You've got homeostasis, that's all about protecting the current pecking order, right? The existing balance of who's important. Then there's persona, which is the desperate need to always appear like you're in control. Projection is a sneaky one. That's when the real fear, the fear about who's going to win or lose power, gets shifted onto a safer topic, like having endless debates about ethics. And of course, the pilot trap. That's the classic. Let's just run another experiment. It creates the illusion of doing something while avoiding any real commitment to change. This is just a fantastic metaphor for the whole thing. The institution sees AI not as this fundamental shift, but as an irritant, like a piece of sand in an oyster. And it tries to coat it, contain it, and turn it into a manageable little pearl. But here's the problem. AI isn't a piece of sand. It's a systemic change. And by trying to contain it, you're not creating a beautiful pearl, you're just making the whole system brittle and fragile. Okay, so that's the diagnosis, and it's a bit grim. So what's the cure? It's not about trying to suppress this new power. It's about doing the opposite. Conscious integration and making that power legible. Right. The crucial point here is that integration isn't about moving faster or buying more software. It's about giving this new power a clear, understandable form. It means defining roles, setting limits, and, this is the big one, making sure accountability actually matches what's happening on the ground. It's about the institution becoming what the source calls an adult system, one that's actually capable of holding the power it has already created. And hey, this isn't just a theory. This table shows you what a practical toolkit for this looks like. You can actually do what's called a shadow integration diagnostic. You can create a map that shows who really has influence versus who the org chart says is supposed to. You clarify who makes the final call, who checks the work, and who owns the risk. This makes the whole invisible power structure concrete and something you can actually manage. All of this, everything we've talked about, it all leads to the single most important principle for governing AI responsibly and effectively. And there it is. Power must be visible to be governable. This is the absolute, non-negotiable prerequisite. You simply cannot govern what you pretend does not exist. That internal honesty, knowing, for real, where this new form of intelligence is actually shaping what your company does, that's the foundation for everything else. Which brings us to our final and I think most provocative thought. The conclusion here is that AI itself is not the threat to our institutions. The real threat is our own denial of the power that we've already unleashed. The challenge isn't technical at all. It's a test of institutional maturity. And the question this leaves all of us with is pretty simple. Is your organization willing to own the power it has already created?
Next video, next Thursday. Subscribe to learn more.